to make money, money making money, money making money, money making money, money, money making money, manifest, making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. I ain't stressed, making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. Gratitude is my attitude. I'm making money moves. Jewelry in the safe, piggy bank on full. And I'm living life abundant. I'm making money fast. I'm a money making magnet, making cold hard cash. I'm making money. Oh, I am blessed.
Welcome. This is Alchemizing Energy, aka DJ Genesis, and I am back at it again. And today I, wanted to do a show because there's so many different things going on, in the conscious community. We have like the Charlie Kirk thing, but I wanted to get away from that and to discuss like this whole Darwin theory. And I think that at the end of the day, when we talk about this stuff, we are so dumb when it really comes down to this. We will be so smart and be so stupid at the same time. I don't understand how we could ever believe in a theory of evolution when there's so many things and archaeological evidence that proves that our evolution predates anything Darwin could have ever said. So I'm going to first just kind of get into a live stream that has happened earlier today where they are discussing Darwin and the whole thing. And then I want to break down an additional aspect that people are not really taking into account. Because one thing, people can talk really smart and be really great atheists and really great Big Bang Theory, people and really discuss this. But what about the archaeological evidence that exists that actually speaks against everything that people could ever think of and know of? So let's start off with this debate that was happening on Saaneter earlier today, and then I'm going to go a little bit into that, and then I would like to show you a video. We're not going to be here very long. I want to show you a video that is going to really make this whole thing seem stupid. So let's go.
Little clones running around. All right. So can you see that right there on the screen, Sal?
Yes, you're up and running.
Okay. No. I just want to make sure you could see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
I want to understand, going to the inception of House of Consciousness, Saaneter on 125th, you out there taking pictures and videos with white folks kissing your feet and Unc being I ain't going to say necessarily your right-hand man, but Unc's been around for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just trying to understand, how has he made it a point all these years to stick around and teach white supremacy, right? So here's the book, right? This is the actual title of the book. On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. Now, when people are trying to hide the truth, they just leave it like that. They just say on the origin of species by means of natural selection, or they will paraphrase and just say Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. They leave this whole entire second part out. You see what that say?
This is the thing about Charles Darwin. Is that people are just going on his theory of things. I'm not sure if Charles Darwin ever traveled around the world and saw some of these structures that existed in the world, or if he was just only in in his secluded place and came up with these theories. But I believe if he traveled a little more, he probably would be questioning all of his theories, because there's so much evidence out there that tells us that we have existed way before any of the thing. And way beyond. We're not, people want to say, well, we're apes because we have a one strand of a DNA that makes us close to apes. Okay. However, there's so much evidence showing that we existed, and we were very highly technologically advanced. And we're going to go into that, but I'm going to go ahead and let them have their demeasuring contest, because it's going to get into that. People's going to get really egotistical and demeasuring and this, that, the other. They're going to get into like, you know, um, what is it called? All these theories and this, that, the other, and getting into like retroviruses and this, that, the other that tie us into apes. But I have not seen an ape build a structure similar to anything close to what we've built.
Or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. You heard that?
Mm-hmm.
This is the white supremacist Bible. This is the white supremacist Bible. This is the science that backed any and all justification for what Black folks would experience throughout the rest of, the 1800s going into the 1900s. This is how we get, Francis Cress Welson's famous debate and the bell curve book and all of these things that some of the people that are just getting into, quote unquote consciousness, they might not even be familiar with. They might not even be familiar with that landmark debate Francis Cress Welsson had in the bell curve book and the author of that book and all of these things that set us back. So that's the first part right there. We could that can't be debated. You see, so it's not even a matter of debate. I would just like to ask him why, as a person in the community, does he promote white supremacy? Right. So there's that. Right. Now,
Doctor, listen.
Yeah.
There's a movie on Netflix that just came out, 2025, and it's called somebody Google it for me if y'all don't see it. It's called Orphan. I think it's Orphans Black. Orphans. And that movie is bad. It's a series. And that's what they're dealing with, natural selections.
Now
I gotta go check that out. I'm watching it. I'm up to like 5, I think. I'm up to 5. And it's dealing with natural selection. That joint is deep right there, man.
Okay, now we could read this because most of the people, hold on, before we even go there. Most of the people, again, they're into personalities. There's people that will call me out of my name before they never even been to my channel. They never read a book that I wrote. They don't know anything that I'm actually into, but they know that me and Unc is ops and they like Unc. So they just, oh yeah, Inky is. So I know for a fact, 90% of the people that's talking about Charles Darwin theory of evolution, first of all, that right there is going to hurt. He's going to have to explain to these people how he's been running around all this time promoting white supremacy. You're going to have to explain how you promoting white supremacy.
Now, let me say this. When I actually had my debate with Cube and we discussed evolution and the fact that he believed that we were all monkeys, I had the same question. Why are you promoting white supremacy? So I do agree with Dr. Inky on that. That is a white supremacist standpoint.
Unc is not, I don't see Unc promoting white supremacy, brother.
So you want me to put the book cover back on the screen?
No.
All right, so let me ask you then, what do you think it means when Charles Darwin is talking about favored races in the struggle for life? Which races would be favored? What race do you think Charles Darwin is saying is the favored race?
Put up the quote. Let me see him.
I just read you the title of the book. What is happening over there, Son? You okay?
Let me see it.
Sorry.
He says, "Are you okay?"
We just finished looking at this. We just finished looking at this.
Stop being distracted.
Like how you watching? Go ahead, hit the share screen.
The origin
no, what are you doing? Stop,
by means of natural selection or the preservation of a favorite.
No background music.
Peace.
I'm
well and peace.
So let's go into a little further into.
You definitely can't watch Captain Tazariak for 5 or 10 years talk about this, like this material, and not know where he's getting it from. And if you have watched him for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, talk about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, and he has never actually shown anyone the book, it is not possible for you to say that Unc sources up, because you just said, yo, Inky, come on now, you're wasting the people's time. You got to source up because Unc sources up. And I told you, Unc has never sourced up when it comes to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Unc does not know what he's talking about when it comes to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, nor does anybody who blindly goes along with what he's saying. This right here, what I'm showing you, is the actual title of Charles Darwin's book. Charles Darwin's book, where Charles Darwin's theory of evolution comes from, is not titled Charles Darwin's Theory of Evolution. The book is titled On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. So now, if you're telling me,
It sounds like eugenics, but let's go.
That a book titled The Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life is not white supremacy, explain to me your point, Ty. Come on, Ty, your mic work.
No, I'm asking you, is this Charles Darwin book? You might be in trouble now.
Yeah, it is his book. That's his book.
Hickey, you might have problems now.
So as he just said, Charles Darwin's book was not the Theory of Evolution. The book from Charles Darwin was called On the Origins of Species by Means of Natural Selection, or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Let's go.
Man, you know why? We got somebody better than Unc hit the panel just now.
Is it
A scholar, God damn it.
Is it Unc? Stop. Would you like the floor, side? Go ahead. And then when it's my turn.
No one is filibustering, by the way. I answered your question.
But wait. What I'm trying to do is create a scenario.
Wait a minute. I answered your question very directly.
Yes,
okay.
There have been advancements from that. Brother, wait a minute. Calm down. I am not saying that every idea that Darwin put forward has been backed entirely by science, but in large part, the theories that he's put forward were revolutionary in the understanding of evolution and of genetic science. He didn't have the ability to look at DNA. That's something that came much later. He was looking strictly at fossils and came up with some really, really important ideas. And I often have my students in my class come in and say that he was racist, and that's because they're familiar with social Darwinism, which he did not create at all. His ideas were simply that
brother, you're long-winded and it's out of place here. Listen, we're going to stick to the science, sir. We're going to stick to the science. You're long-winded and it's out of place here. So you said the theory of Charles Darwin is correct. So now Charles Darwin's theory is pangenesis. Are you familiar with pangenesis?
Are you talking about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution? No.
I'm asking you a question. Are you familiar with pangenesis? Yes or no, brother? Stop dancing.
Listen. First of all, there's no need to do all the razzle dazzle.
Come on, you can be a scholar, brother. Come on, man. Come on.
There's no answer.
Scholar, brother.
All I'm saying is that when we look at his concepts of evolution, this is in the late 19th century. This is something, there certainly have been some things that I think scholars would look at a little bit differently. His work is very early. He did not have the ability to look at DNA. And I think that what you have to do is look at his book. You brought up his book and you just looked at the title.
So we have a guy who came up with a bunch of theories without any like DNA or just only fossils, and then came up with these theories. And then this has been touted hugely in our college campuses. This is crazy.
Wait a minute.
Jabari, you're not going to redirect people's attention away from
Hold on. Time out, both of y'all. Dr. Inky, this is good for you. You got to be a professional now. This is good for you.
Right, but you have to let me do what I'm doing. You cannot let Jabari, no, Sal, listen. You cannot let Jabari come up here and try to redirect the attention of the show.
He's not.
No, listen to what I'm saying. We're not going to do what Jabari's directing. What we're going to do is do what I'm directing, because he's coming up on Dr. Inky's live stream. So what he has to talk about now is pangenesis. Right now, I want you to understand that people in the chat right now are Googling pangenesis. And people are saying, wait a minute, Jabari might be in trouble. So yes, let's redirect the attention of the people to talk about, whether Charles Darwin was talking about free the black people or the Africans. No, let's talk about science. Let's talk about where Unc left off with modern biology. And let's talk about Charles Darwin's theory of science. Let's talk about what was the actual mechanisms that he proposed in regards to evolution, and how those things either translated to modern biology or how they got debunked and destroyed, and how they should have been left where they were 200 years ago, if not for people that are not fluent in the space, not understanding. So what you need to do now, Jabari.
Well, if you actually look up Darwin and pangenesis, It says that Darwin's theory of pangenesis was proposed that all cells in an organism body shed tiny particles called gemmules. These gemmules then circulate throughout the body, gathering in the gonads, the balls, and being transmitted to offspring through germ cells, sperm and eggs. Pangenesis was Darwin's attempt to explain both general inheritance and the inheritance of acquired characteristics, though it has since been disproven and replaced by our modern understanding of genetics. So he is actually right in what he is saying. So let's go.
After you said, you answered me directly that the science is correct, you need to stand on pangenesis and demonstrate to us the science of pangenesis and not take us to page 15 or any other place. We need to talk about pangenesis, sir.
Okay, now let me say this to you.
Be professional.
Everyone that is watching can see that you are the person that just did the Harlem 125th Street 3-card Monty. You're the one that brought up Charles Darwin. You're the one that looked at his book and only looked at the title of the book. Shame on you. And then you're the one that's saying, I have to talk about pangenesis when I simply came on here responding to what you had already said. And I said to you that if you're saying that his work, the work that you introduced, brother,
is you doubling down.
Show us in the book, which is incorrect. And I said, I am prepared to show you what he means by the word race. You imputed that when he talked about the preservation of race, he was talking about race in terms of human race.
I didn't say that. Oh, I didn't say that. Because, no, you assume that. Wait a minute, stop.
Hey, he didn't cut you off. Let him finish, brother.
You very clearly did. And I wasn't coming in here to argue. I was simply coming in here to correct as someone who has read the work.
Okay.
Why does it have to be a de-measuring contest? Why do they have to cut each other off and why can't each other let each other speak? You know, it's becoming a control. Everyone wants to have control, and this is what I've noticed about when men argue. It's a control thing going on here.
So I want you to say, as you were going through your piece on race based on a title, I said, well, brother, what you have to do is look at what he means by race. So I said to you, maybe it would be helpful for you to look at page 15, because as you know, in this environment, we show sources. Okay. And so I am suggesting, you made some comments about what he was saying
is the source.
Race. What you are saying
no, Jabari, is the source.
Wait, what you are saying in terms of race is incorrect. And so I'm telling you to look at it. Now,
what you're saying is incorrect because first of all, relates us back to monkeys. Relates us back to monkeys. So if you don't understand the full context of the conversation, Jabari, you probably shouldn't jump in where you don't understand. Because the first thing that you said was that Charles Darwin was talking about plants and animals. So is So am I.
You got to be professional, bro. You are a Dr. Inky.
It's too much talking, Jabari. That's a long time.
It's all right.
Same thing already 10 times. Okay, how many times you gotta say that?
Saaneter, can you put this on the screen, please?
All right.
Please put this on the screen.
Come on, you gotta be professional, Inky, man.
I don't have a lot of time. Let's dead this now because this is ridiculous.
So what are we
doing? The community deserves better.
All right.
This is page 15 under domestication, right? Of the work that he just wanted to read the title of. The title. This is what he says. He says, I may add that when under nature, the conditions of life do change. Variations and reversions of character probably do occur, but natural selection, as will hereafter be explained, will determine how far the new characters thus arriving shall be preserved. That's really an interesting way to describe evolution. That's what he's doing. Look at the next paragraph. It says, when we look to the hereditary varieties or races of our domestic animals and plants, and compare them with the species closely allied together, we generally perceive in each domestic race, as already remarked, less uniformity of character than in true species. Very clearly, I want you to recognize that when he uses the term race, you were attempting to make it sound like he was saying something that was white supremacist. His use of the term race is what we would maybe call genus and species, the differentiation amongst living things. And here you see him use the term race for domestic animals and plants. What you are suggesting is not correct. And so that's really what I'm here to say. And I really think that for you to debunk Charles Darwin, as you have introduced his book, let's see you debunk him using his own words. I'm the one that's showing you what he actually wrote. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh,
and I'm gonna let you cook.
Wait. That's all you're gonna say, and then you out of here, huh? You're not gonna address pangenesis.
Well,
you're not gonna address any of the actual science in the book. You're going to divert everybody's attention to something else, and you don't even know what you're talking about, number one. Because first of all, Unc specifically has been making these monkey claims, and me and his contention started about the monkey claims. It went from the monkey claims to great ape to great relative to we're not
monkey claim that Unc came out with. What's the monkey claim?
Hold on. Unc originally said that we come from monkeys.
Unc never said that, brother.
Stop. Because I have old videos in my hard drive. Hold on, stop. You gotta listen. Listen, you gotta listen. He changed his argument over time after I beat him up in consecutive situations. After I beat him,
I think that he said apes, not monkeys, but I don't know where they are in this conversation. But I think everyone wants to do the ape thing, and I want to really break down that whole ape concept when we actually discuss these megaliths. And I'm going to get into. I'm going to give you like about 5 more minutes of this contest of and then I'm going to go into some different stuff. So please stay tuned. Watch.
Multiple times he changed it to say we have a primary relative, or we have a co-ancestor with the great apes, etc., etc. So what I'm saying is Jabari's entire commentary is out of place. And if Jabari is going to sit up here, see, this is the thing that I don't like. Don't hit and run. No, listen. Don't hit and run. Don't come up here and try to make a side quest into the main mission. If you up here and you're defending Charles Darwin's theory, you have to explain to us pangenesis now. Now make it make sense. Jabari, the scholar, explain to us
about pangenesis, Inky. Tell us about it first. Go ahead. Drop it, and then let's see if Jabari can debunk it. Talk to us about it.
No, let Jabari explain it. Now that you don't put it on the screen.
Let me first say, I'm only responding to what you said. Which
what I said was no, Jabari. No, sir.
Why do they have to do this? Like, no. Why can't each other let each other talk? It's crazy. Like, bro, it's a control thing. But no one can make their point because they're too busy. No, and whatever. But let's go.
Use the word race. That's what you did. I'm responding to that.
Okay.
And then when Saaneter said, well, what's wrong with the book? You said, I showed you the title. You told me there's something wrong, like the title.
Okay, so hold on. So here's what I'm saying. Look, hold on.
I'm not ready to hold yet, brother.
Yo, Inky, you got to let him finish first, brother.
Why do I got to let him finish on my video?
Now, listen. If you would like to continue your presentation, I'm going to leave and let you do that.
Yeah, we see you scared, Inky. You can't mess with
what I'm trying to say is, I am hoping, as a watcher, as someone who's looking at
what we're witnessing is Jabari half-stepping.
Man,
because Charles Darwin is freeing the slaves, blah, blah. Like, how many times he need to say that over and over? That sounds like he was trying to do a Hitman Holler remix. Hitman, like he was trying to, we don't need the repetition.
But I'm here for the information, man. That's all.
What I'm trying to tell you is, listen, hold on, stop. What I'm trying to explain to you, see, I always got to fight an uphill battle over here. Listen, what I'm trying to explain to you is he did not know the information. He didn't know anything about pangenesis. That's why when I offered him the opportunity to explain it to the people, he did not accept the opportunity. He's going to hide behind decorum. He's going to hide behind, I just wanted to jump on and just interject this one point about the racist thing because you was wrong on that point, blah, blah, blah. Charles Darwin's talking about animals. So is Unc. This conversation is about me and Unc. Unc's theory is that we come from monkeys. Then we got the great ape story, and he references Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Hold on.
You keep sending misinformation. Unc does not say, his theory is not that we come from monkeys, brother.
Hold on, because he
Unc does not say that, man.
I just told you at least 10 times that he has rephrased it and says we have a common
ancestor. He rephrased it. What I'm trying to say.
The common ancestor, okay? They all atheists that believe in evolution believe in the common ancestor theory. So he's right about that. They believe there's some kind of weird common ancestor that somehow disappeared between the chimpanzee and the human being. But I'm about to really break something down to you guys. It's going to really make this whole thing seem really stupid. So let's go.
That's what he teaches.
Okay, hold on. So why are you trying to make it seem like he don't say that we have a common ancestor with the monkeys?
We have a common ancestor.
Okay, and he references Charles Darwin's theory of evolution.
Hold on. Not only do we have a common ancestor with monkeys, every living organism have a common ancestor, brother.
Stop. Okay, Saad, answer these
I have
questions.
a
You can't
common
pick and
ancestor
choose.
with monkeys.
Answer these questions.
No,
Does he back up his theory? Hold on. Yes or no? Does Unc back up his theory with Charles Darwin's theory of evolution? Yes or no?
yes.
Okay. Now, do you, yes or no, know Charles Darwin's theory of evolution?
The same thing as Darwinism. They're not the same thing. It was a separate hypothesis that was been later disproven and not functional. So they're not even using it no more. It doesn't have anything to do with Darwinism. That's what Jabari was saying. It's not Darwinism. It was a separate thing.
Can I respond to you?
Okay, so what he said was pangenesis has nothing to do with Darwinism, etc. So let me go back a little bit.
Of pangenesis. In fact, his experiments with blood transfusions in rabbits helped to disprove a key aspect of it. Pangenesis was a provisional theory of heredity proposed by his cousin, Charles Darwin.
Detroit made you soft, and you used to be strong, man.
Hold on.
You used to go at people, man.
Sorry, you're
I don't know why. Okay, I think he made a point. So let's go with the point.
and then running, right?
It's not going to.
And they were searching for two different things. One was for the origin of species. The other one was for what you're saying, passing down traits. And it's been disproven because they tried it with the mice or whatever, and it didn't pass down. So you're just playing a game where you know the topics, but you don't really know the depth of it, so you get lost in the depth.
Okay, all right. So hold on, because you cut me off after I didn't cut you off. I let you speak and then asked if it was my turn to respond, specifically so that when you start cutting me off, we can see where the cutting off is coming from. So,
whatever, man. You were still waiting for you to say anything about Darwinism. We've been here for an hour and a half. You haven't even told us anything.
Rob Knox, hold on. Let Dr. Inky finish, brother.
So in the midst of all of your convo, right? I just want to be clear with one of the things that you're saying. So you are saying that Charles Darwin's theory of pangenesis was disproved and discarded as not real science, correct?
Unmute yourself, Rob. Unmute yourself.
Yeah. It doesn't work. It doesn't function under the mechanical mechanism that they use it under. So yeah, it's not a thing. And Jabari was saying Darwinism and that are separate. There was a separate hypothesis that he did.
Hold on. That's not what Jabari said. Jabari said
he didn't have to say it.
Oh, he didn't have to say it. Oh, I got you.
That's what he. Well, you cut him off when he said, "Oh, that's not Darwinism." You went out.
No. What he was saying was the racism was not a part of Darwin's original theory. That was social Darwinism, which was not connected to Darwinism. That's what Jabari was saying. Now, again, for the record, on the actual subject of what we're talking about, Rob, you did say, just for clarity, that the pangenesis theory was debunked as fake. It does not work. It has nothing to do with actual science. Yes or no?
Unmute yourself, Rob.
Sorry, I don't know about not having nothing to do with science. I mean, it took science to perform it and disprove it. I'm saying that
okay, so
hold on. I'm almost done. You linking it to Darwinism is disingenuous.
All right. With that, hold on, Inky. With that, I want to move on.
So basically, what they're saying is that like the fact that he's using pangenesis to make his argument is not true because it wasn't Charles Darwin that came up with it. It was actually his cousin that came up with that whole pangenesis thing, and then Darwin and him worked together, and it became disproven later on in science. So let's move a little bit further in the conversation. I think Napasha Da begins to interject and begins to discuss some other things.
Just for clarity, that the pangenesis theory was debunked as fake. It does not work. It has nothing to do with actual science. Yes or no?
Unmute yourself, Rob.
Sorry, I don't know about not having nothing to do with science. I mean, it took science to perform it and disprove it. I'm saying that
okay, so
hold on. I'm almost done. You linking it to Darwinism is disingenuous.
All right. With that, hold on, Inky. With that, I want to move on because we don't want to stay with one person at the same time. Let me go on over right quick to Nepal Shada. Nepal's in the building. What's up, Nepal?
Yes, thank you, Saaneter. Peace to everybody in the chat. Peace to Dr. Inky. I did want to talk to you about some of this. I don't know if you saw the message, but anyway, I heard you. I want to talk to you about the common ancestor. I want to find out how you get around endogenous retroviruses that show.
See, even when we get into this, we're going to endogenous retroviruses, whatever the other thing was, parthenogenesis, all these different things, not part of the, what was it, the other, whatever he said. So I watch when I bring this other information up because I'm like, okay, so explain this. Okay, did Darwin travel the world and look at archaeological evidence that existed, these buildings and stuff like that, these megaliths that were very advanced in the world? So how can a thing become a monkey and then turn into this technologically advanced thing? A human, right? Let's go.
hard evidence of us having a common ancestor with other apes like bonobos and chimps. Are you there?
We can have a separate convo on that. Sure.
Well, no, you were just, we can,
No.
we were
but
just
that's-
talking about.
No, but that's not a part of Unc's conversation. That's not a part of Charles.
Here, brother. The people are asking you questions, doctor.
Hello, and I'm answering them how I want to answer them. See, I'm doing something very specific, and you trying to. See,
But I'm saying they're not asking you in Unc's position. They asking you what they hear you speaking on. That's what they're asking you, brother.
What I'm speaking on is Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Charles Darwin's work.
Then why are you bringing up his cousin?
Hold on, because his cousin is the one who did the experiments that disproved Charles Darwin's work. So his cousin is very relative to the conversation. This is why I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with the science part of it, you probably out of place. So even if we're talking about,
Yeah, actually, you're wrong. If I remember correctly, his cousin was a racist.
Hold on.
It's not your turn yet. Let's go back to the part.
Wait, hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying, Sam. Even the conversation of retroviruses, right? Retroviruses has to do with DNA. Retroviruses has to do with DNA, RNA. That is a conversation about DNA and RNA. DNA and RNA was discovered 100 years after Charles Darwin's books came out. So having a conversation about retroviruses has nothing to do with Charles Darwin's theory. This is why I'm saying we can have that conversation in a separate time and place because it has nothing to do with the subject at hand. Charles Darwin's book came out 10 years before they even discovered nucleic acids.
Okay.
Listen to what I'm saying, because you got to understand this. Nucleic acid is the basis or the basic unit for forming actual full strands of RNA and DNA. They didn't understand full strands of RNA till Watson Crick 100 years later almost. So that has nothing to do with Charles Darwin's theory of evolution.
Okay. Inky, you brought up, well, first off, common ancestors with apes does have to do with evolution. And, I respect. No, but I'm just saying.
Inky, brother.
Inky, we can also, I was trying to get in touch with you to bring you on the Coliseum so I could do like an interview with you, just, a more in-depth interview. But right now, I did hear you say, I'm with you on the whole thing. I do know about Jim Mules, and I'm not an expert on Darwin. I'm not an expert on Darwin, I repeat. But I remembered when I was doing the research for my debate, I came across some of the pseudo information that he has. So I agree with you on that part with pangenesis. And I think you brought up pangenesis before, but I digress. You did mention something about Ankh. You said Ankh thinks we came from monkeys. And so this is a relevant question.
No, I got you, but listen to what I'm saying.
Let us finish. Just let us finish.
Can you let us talk, bro?
No, because it's going to take long when you do that, Inky. When you
be responding to her.
No,
right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
It's going to take long. Let her finish, and then that way you can respond, and then we can move on.
But I'm okay if he wants to jump in.
A lot of people have ADHD and they cannot allow a person to finish the thought because if they don't, they'll lose their thought. They need to start writing things down and then come back to it. What are we doing?
Because I want to move on.
Thank you, Saaneter. I know. Okay.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying.
No, hold up. She didn't even ask the question yet, brother.
Yes, she did.
No,
Okay, just to reiterate it real quick, Inky, for Saaneter to, I understand what he's doing. He wants to keep order. Okay, so the question is relevant because this is a conversation about evolution, and you talked about, you challenged something that he said we are apes or we came from monkeys or something like that. So this is relevant because we do share a common ancestor and we are a part, we are apes. So I'm just asking you, we can do this at another time, but endogenous retroviruses, that's the hardcore proof that we cannot get around the fact that we are essentially apes. We are essentially a part of the same, we have the same common ancestor. What do you say to that? Just your take on it.
Okay. Can I let me hit the share screen.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Now you can go in, Inky, and then we move on to Asar and then Jabari.
Okay, let's hit the share screen real quick.
You sharing?
Okay.
I want to remind you, this is the toughest environment. Inky.
Oh my God, Sal, will you stop that? When did endogenous retrovirus get discovered? Okay, this is what I'm saying. And so maybe when I'm saying it, people can't understand what I'm saying. This is 100 years after Charles Darwin was gone. So the endogenous retrovirus conversation has nothing to do with Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. This is why I do understand what Nepal is saying. Her question is relevant to the topic overall, but not to the specific discourse, because when I said, Unc says, we came from monkeys, then he changed it to the common ancestor, and he backs it up with Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. My problem is squarely with Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. So I want to stay on the topic of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. I have no problem with discussing the retroviruses, but Charles Darwin didn't know what a retrovirus was.
Got it. Understood. So just let me, I'm going to pass the mic on. I hear you. Let's. Please have this conversation some other time. I'll get in touch with Saaneter to get in touch with you. But one question, for the record, do you say that we do not have a?
All right. So endogenous retroviruses were discovered in the late 1960s and early 1970s. This discovery occurred around the same time for avian Lucas's virus and ERV and fowl, marine leukemia virus, and marine mammary tumor viruses, ERVs, in mice. Here's the thing. So what they're trying to say is that the fact that each genome of an animal or whatever that are connected to each other have the same viruses that can pass amongst each other connects us in some kind of a way. That's what it sounds like to me. Maybe I'm wrong. However, I'm going to let this go a little bit further because I really want them to really drive this whole ape argument on further, and then I'm going to bring up my information of what I believe. Okay, so let's go.
I'm an ancestor with other apes.
We could have that conversation whenever.
I mean, I just want to get you on record.
I know you do. I'm not going on record right now. I'm just beating the brakes off of Unc and all his constituents.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, wait. Because you said you did the work on gemules or gemules. When you did the research on gemules, for the people that don't know, gemules is the biological molecule that Charles Darwin proposed was how heredity was passed down, a part of the pangenesis whole program. So when you did the research on that, was that debunked or is that modern science?
Obviously, no, it is not at all. But I didn't do a lot of. I saw it in the research I was doing.
And was it debunked? Right, but was that
long ago? It was. I want to say it reminds me of the science on the when they said women's their uterus travels around and got in their brain like hysterical. It kind of that whole. I think what I recall about gemules is it was like these particles that congregate in the uterus and in the reproductive organs or something. But we now know that that's not true. It's DNA. We have DNA and genetic research and everything like that. I'm not an expert on that though, but I did know that part, right? That is what it is, correct?
That's absolutely what it is.
Okay. I want to have that conversation with you. Thank you, Saaneter. Thank you to everybody. Please, Saaneter, let me get in touch with Inky so we can bring him on the Coliseum. Peace.
All right, we're going to move on now to
let me like,
this is the toughest environment to be in.
I like what you're saying, but I just don't like the way you're delivering it. Well, guess what? Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes it's difficult for us to accept truths.
At any time. At any time. I would love for him to find one geneticist that argues that natural selection and Darwin's theory of evolution is incorrect. I'm going to do what he's not going to do. This is not an AI overview. Can you please share the screen? Please share the screen. Okay, here goes. I'm going to show you two modern journal articles that say that the concept of natural selection, Darwin's theory of evolution, actually is one of the most helpful concepts in understanding the modern concept of biology and genetics. Here we go, an article by T. Ryan Gregory, Understanding Natural Selection, Essential Concepts and Common Misconceptions. Let's just go just to the abstract. Now here's the paper, because I would never show you a paper and just have read the abstract. I would have read the whole paper. So let's just look at abstract for a second, though. It says natural selection is one of the central mechanisms of evolutionary change and is the process responsible for evolution of adaptive features. Without a working knowledge of natural selection, it is impossible to understand how or why living things have come to exhibit their diversity and complexity. That's just where he starts. And then in the very beginning, he starts with a quote by Ernest Mayr from 1982. By the way, this article is from, what year is this? 2009, okay? Scholarly article. Let's look at this. There is probably no more original, more complex, and bolder concept in the history of ideas than Darwin's mechanistic explanation of adaptation. This is a modern journal article talking about the importance of Darwin's work. Here's another. This is in the National Library of Medicine, right? This is by Gregory Dimijian. I think I'm saying that name correctly. This is from 2012. Darwinian Natural Selection, its enduring explanatory power. Once again, here is the entire paper, right? Let's just read from the paper for a second, because I want you to see that what I'm showing you is what the scholars, the scientists say. I don't even understand what Inky is doing right now. He's arguing that the theory of evolution as described by Darwin is no longer in effect. There is not one geneticist or biologist that would make that case.
Hey, hold on.
Not one.
Can I stop you?
So here we go. Take a listen to this. Evolutionary theory has never had a stronger scientific foundation than it does.
Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. All right, now let me go into what I feel is important, okay? All right. What fossils did Darwin use to create his theory of evolution? Okay. Darwin used South American fossil data, especially the bones of extinct giant ground sloths, Gomphothoreers, whatever the hell it is, and horses to develop his theory of evolution. He observed that these fossils were similar to the living animals of the same region, but were much larger, supporting his law of succession types, which suggests the link between past and present inhabitants of the region. This evidence of extinction and continuity was a key factor in persuading him of the reality of evolution. Okay. Next question I ask. What human fossil did Darwin use to create his theory of evolution? Charles Darwin did not use human fossils to create his theory of evolution because there were virtually no such fossils available to him during the time he wrote on the origin of species in 1859. The early evidence for human evolution, such as Neanderthal fossil, was only beginning to come to light around the time of his publication. Darwin instead relied on comparative anatomy and embryology and predicted that early human ancestors lived in Africa based on similarities with African apes. Okay? So Darwin did not actually do any research on humans, human skulls, human anatomy, human fossils. It was 100% on animals. Okay. So I don't really get why we are giving this so much reverence when we have this information right here. Okay. And now I'm going to get into the crux of why I feel that Darwin is incorrect. And it's going to sound crazy, but watch this. I'm fixing to show you guys something beyond evolution. Let's go.
Morpheus holds up the battery in the Matrix and he says, "We are the source of energy." I finally understand what you mean. When the guys made the Matrix, they knew exactly what they were talking about. Wherever they got their information from is very, very interesting. Once you realize what's going on, we go, oh my God, we are so bloody dumb.
We are so bloody dumb.
The manipulated history that we find seems to be created and recreated for us on an ongoing basis. And this is what's becoming a little disturbing, but at the same time, not surprising what's going on here. There are places that we don't know about, that we should know about, like the Towers of Bologna in Italy. This is a drawing from the 1700s. How many of you have seen the Towers of Bologna? That until 200 years ago, the city of Bologna had more than 200 towers, up to 50 meters tall. They're all gone. And then suddenly you start stumbling upon an empire that until the late 1800s was a well-known empire across the world. You look at the old maps and you see the Tartarian Empire, one of the most important global empires, and then suddenly gone. We hear nothing about Tartarian, the Tartarian Empire, and what happened to them. And you start seeing that history is literally changing right under our eyes. Recent history, it starts just being wiped out. We know nothing about it. It is weird, people. Things are getting really freaky and very, very weird. And you see evidence of these things all over the place. You see very large buildings that, with the 2 or 3 bottom floors are just completely covered in mud, and then they just leave them like that, and they create the entrance on the higher floors to that same building. The reason I'm bringing this up is that if the news that we have coming from the media is fake, imagine how wrong all of our history is. And all of this, the fake news and this potentially fake history, is just adding to the great human puzzle and making us even more confused about who we are, where we come from, and why we're here. Institutions keep telling us that the ancients were primitive, and they looked something like this. And they built countless megalithic structures with their very primitive tools, like we can build them today. And they left behind these incredible places from times that we cannot remember. And we have no idea when these...
So you understand what I'm saying now? How do we build megaliths? How do we build skyscrapers if we were monkeys?
Things actually happened. Some of them we speculate, and we're probably very wrong. And they dragged large blocks up mountains and built platforms because they had nothing better to do. They got together and built giant things like this because they needed to bury some guy. And you go to Mount Sharia in Siberia, and that's just ridiculous. I mean, look at the size of these blocks and these structures in Siberia. Realize that wherever you go in the world, there are mysterious ancient civilizations, that weird things, and we really don't know much about the motive. We recognize what they've done. We're surprised by what they've done. Carving entire cities out of bedrock like this, platforms like this, and underground structures like this that are covered in Egypt just to hide it. And Borobudur, which is just obviously such a powerful, resonating thing. Anyone that knows anything about sound and resonance takes one look at this and go, okay, I know exactly what they're doing here. What's interesting?
Those are bells, guys. Those are bells. If you look at this, Borobudur, those are bells. These are bells. So they're using sound frequency. All this, but we're monkeys, though. We came from monkeys, y'all. How we come from monkeys, and monkeys ain't nowhere close, or apes are nowhere close. I'm sorry, not monkeys, apes, right? Bonobo chimps, right? Unless the Transformers came down and gave us and did some kind of experiment and gave us this technology, I don't really understand how we're able to create this level of civilization if we were based on Darwin's theory. If we were these Darwinian-based people, I don't understand how we create megaliths. How do we create these structures then? Where does this come from? How is this happening? Let's go.
Anyone that knows anything about sound and resonance takes one look at this and go, okay, I know exactly what they're doing here. What's interesting, as you may have noticed, many of these places, if not all of them that you've just seen, and there are countless more, all of them seem to be in the Northern Hemisphere. And that is a huge mystery. But unfortunately, the discovery of the ancient ruins of Southern Africa has just now completely blown that apart. Because now that is no...
Hold on. Also, if you actually go into America, which if you actually go to the interview I just did with the Book of Johnson, he discusses how there's the same type of structure in America as well. Over thousands, tens of thousands of structures like this. But we're monkeys. So, and then these things are millions upon millions of years old, beyond what even Darwin was even using for his theory. So it's what are we talking about here? How can Darwin create a theory and we follow it, but then there's things that are way older now and we're still following Darwin? We're just ignoring all the new evidence. What are we talking about here?
No longer the case. And the attention has shifted to the ancient ruins of South Africa and Southern Africa. The stone circles of Southern Africa have become one of the most interesting, mysterious, and unbelievable discoveries of ancient archaeology, ancient civilizations, not just because they are so amazing to look at and remarkable, but because they opened a door and they gave us very important clues as to what the ancient civilizations were doing. and what technology they use. And that's actually been the big breakthrough to get to a deeper understanding of how smart and advanced the ancient civilizations were. And when you start noticing these flower-shaped structures, that's when it gets really interesting. Notice that these are not standalone structures. They're all connected by these channels that connect them, thousands of miles of channels, like they look like wires that connect all stone circles together. And then you can see that weird spider's web effect around it. No stone circle stands alone. They're all connected in this very large grid. And basically what you're looking at here is what has now been identified or recognized as the largest cluster of stone ruins anywhere on Earth. How many are there? More than 10 million of these structures throughout South Africa and Zimbabwe. It is quite staggering. 10 million is not a small number. This is an insanely huge number. When we get to the reason why they did this, I think this is when it starts to get really interesting.
Important thing, no doors and entrances. There are several archaeological drawings that clearly show us no doors and entrances, clustered together like grapes. The channels connecting them all together, like I've showed you, everything is connected. What kind of stones are we dealing with here? And this is where it all starts to point us in a very interesting direction. It's a special kind of stone known as hornfels. It's a black stone. It looks like this. It's black on the inside. And then on the outside, it's got this reddish brown skin that grows very, very slowly. A few thousand years per microscopic layer. That's how long it takes for this patina to grow. So if you've got tools or artifacts made out of this black rock, and the tools and artifacts are covered in patina, then you have to assume or conclude that the tools and artifacts were made a long, long time ago, not just a few hundred or a few thousand years ago, because that's not how the patina grows. So the patina in this is a very important way for us to not evaluate exactly or date the stones, the tools, but to give us an idea of how old they are. And we know that based on that, they're very, very old. The other important thing is that the stones ring like bells. And it was really at the moment that I discovered that these stones have acoustic properties and they ring like bells that everything changed. I no longer looked at the stone circles as cattle kraal or dwellings. I suddenly realized that we're dealing with sound, the primordial source of all things.
Right. So here's the thing. So Darwin was researching horses and fossils of horses. But if you go into these specific archaeological sites, they are showing tools dating like millions of years old that had like some kind of a sonic frequency that they were able to use to actually do stuff with. So here's the thing, right? Because even I was watching Transformers earlier today, and I understood they had like the apes and the monkeys and everything of like the Transformers. But Optimus Prime is older than the 8 Prime. Remember, they had like Optimus Primal, but Optimus Prime, even though he was like a Mack truck, was older and more respected than the Primal one, right? So this is actually showing us, even in the movies, that things existed that was older, that was more technologically looking like what we got going on right now, than even the apes and the primal aspects of what we understand today. And not to get into not to make Transformers be the freaking reason, but I'm just showing like how Hollywood imitates life. Let's go.
That energy, what Nikola Tesla probably used, sound that levitates. And now we got sound coming out of the stone walls, of the stone circles. That's a great breakthrough. But what are we dealing with here? What are the stones made of? They're made of silica, people. Silica. Most of the content of these stones, what are they made of? 90% of most of the stone on this planet is made of silica. Sandstone is virtually pure silica. So here we have advanced technology used in ancient sites. The most advanced technology today is all silicon-based technology. Silica has memory. It contains knowledge. It contains information. It conducts sound and light. It stores light and sound and information, that stores energy. In Southampton University, they're experimenting now with tiny little crystals that store up to 350 terabytes of information, one tiny little thing. But I can tell you that crystals like that will actually store infinite amount of information. Other important thing is that these structures are not just memory banks, they're actually giant machines that are activated by light and by sound. So where's the flagship in South Africa among these ruins? No doubt it's Adam's calendar. The patina growth tells us how old some of these ruins are. You can see this here, this had a tip there that broke off. There's 2 millimeters of patina growth there. This tells us that even the stone ruins, not just Adam's calendar, is extremely old. For this amount of patina to grow on a break that looks like that, will take hundreds of thousands of years, not just a few thousand years. Well, the ancients used sacred geometry for everything. We now know this. So I drew a golden mean spiral from Adam's calendar, and guess where it ends? Right between the pyramids. Adam's calendar. And you realize that the argument of probability can be used here. What is the probability that this is an accident? It's several million to one, so it must be connected, and that there's a reason why these are here in that distance exactly from Adam's calendar. The other interesting thing is that when you connect Adam's calendar to Great Zimbabwe, it ends right in the Great Pyramid of Giza, all along the 31 degrees east longitudinal line. What were these stone circles for? I think you start seeing what these patterns are all about. This is the cymatic pattern for the shape of the sound on a metal plate. Will make this beautiful sound. And you realize that each one of these stone circles is just a cymatic pattern of the sound of planet Earth at that specific point. This is a representation of the sound frequency right there. So each one of these is a plug point, an energetic plug point into Mother Earth, becoming an energy generating source and multiplying that frequency and that energy. How much does it multiply it? I have to first explain to you this little device here in modern electronics known as a magnetron. These magnetrons are in laser beams, like this little laser beam here. Some of these are benign, they don't hurt you, and some laser beams can cut metal in a split second. This is how powerful magnetrons are. Imagine if a little magnetron can create so much energy. How much a magnetron 20 meters in diameter will create, made of virtually pure silica. An insane amount of energy. There are thousands of these magnetrons in Southern Africa. Thousands. So now you can start imagining how much energy they were creating, and a huge energy grid that covered large parts of Southern Africa. And the interesting thing is that this energy grid is still alive. It still gives us insane amounts of energy because we've measured it. We've measured electromagnetic waves, the sound frequencies that come out of them, the loudness of these sound frequencies, and also this thing called heat signature. The heat signature is the average temperature of 200 meters below the ground. The heat signature tells us that at 80 degrees, if you measured the heat signature 80 degrees, it'll tell you that you're standing on top of a volcano. So just keep that in mind. Then we got to Adam's calendar. As you enter, this is the circle that you see from space. As you walk into this imaginary circle, the heat signature is 9.5 degrees. As you walk into that circle, there's no circle. It's an imaginary circle. It shoots to 77 degrees. It's like literally 9.5 degrees, 77 degrees. What the hell is going on? Something strange is going on that we don't understand. Between these two calendar stones, it goes up to beyond 80 degrees. Now the measurement is telling you that you're standing on top of a volcano. And yet it's just bedrock. It's just sandstone. And then we measured the sound frequencies. Nothing, just ambient noise. As you go through this imaginary circle, it goes beyond 375 gigahertz of sound that we're measuring. As far as I know, this kind of sound frequencies have never ever been measured anywhere on planet Earth that we know of. That brings me to the Earth grid, because it seems that all these ancient sites on Earth, Adam's calendar, the Great Pyramids, Pumapunku, they all seem to be built on these nodal points, these energy points that have, there's Adam's calendar right there, there's Giza. And this is really interesting because it seems to be some.
So here's the question. How do we go from being a chimp, ape, monkey to building structures on top of energy grids that are this advanced? Like, how do we go from that? What would make us advance that much? And then how did we devolve? Because we've devolved since then. What is really going on? So when people want to talk about evolution, okay, well, there was a de-evolution at some point.
sort of an energetic code encoded into planet Earth that's mirrored from the sky. And why do we know it's mirrored from the sky? Because the Sumerian texts tell us. And this is not a Zechariah Sitchin translation, by the way. This comes from the Shoyan collection. And this is what it says. In the distant days, in those days after destinies had been decreed, after An, who was Anu, and Enlil, his son, had set up the regulations for heaven and earth. That's interesting. Regulations for heaven and earth. Enki, the exalted knowing God, by the rules for heaven and earth, the fixed rules, he set up the cities. So they're suggesting that there's a grid of energetic rules in the sky that is mirrored on earth, and they set up the cities on earth mimicking or mirroring this energy grid in the sky. So this points us, David Wilcock first actually discovered this when he started talking about these military emblems and these bands that are encoded. This information is encoded into these emblems. They call it the rules. Remember? The rules, the fixed rules for heaven and earth. And here we have, the military calls these bands around the earth the rules. They don't know where they come from, but they've always been there. Some sort of an energetic grid around planet Earth. Well, this is deeply encoded stuff, people. So the fixed rules, the energy grid around the Earth is actually...
Think about this. Where do we get these lines? These lines, longitude, latitude, all these things. This grid that they come up. Where did that come from? And how long has it existed? And why is it that we consider ourselves at any point to be an ape when I don't even think that apes are aware of this? If they are, whatever language they're speaking, they ain't telling us about it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, you know? So let's go.
Coded in the modern military emblems, all of them.
And we now know that all these ancient sites are just giant machines. The stone circles are the trigger point to make us realize that all these ancient structures were just giant machines built to generate energy. For what? That remains the mystery. We know that these are machines because sometimes photographs like this show us that energy is still coming out of these giant machines. Stonehenge, very obvious energy device. And then these ancient sites in Egypt are just technology on a gigantic scale. The obelisk rings like a bell, and you realize it's an antenna. When you start looking at these structures in Egypt, you realize too many pillars, not enough space. This is not for praying and offering food and going to pray to the gods and all that nonsense. This is all just giant technology. There you've got a beautiful amplification chamber with ringing pillars in front of it on a pedestal, and you realize that these are just templates for giant circuit boards. And these guys are just building these energy devices on a scale that we can't do today because we don't have enough money and we have no idea how to do it. And they were doing things that we can't even imagine today. Giant circuit boards, macro processors, and then devices like this, obviously. And you realize that we're dealing with a time in human history that was very, very different from our lives today. And when you go to South America, Sacsayhuaman, it's just another circuit board on top of a mountain. There's another look at it. Borobudur, Indonesia, just amplifying sound frequencies, shooting it up into the sky with a central beam at the top. And this all takes...
Look at all this. It looks like bells. When you look at it from the top, these are all bells. These are bells.
Amplifying sound frequencies.
What's a bell? And it's interesting. I talked about the bells in my last live about how they got rid of all the bells. But all this stuff is a bunch of bells and one big bell in the middle.
Shooting it up into the sky.
Whatever these people were, they understood sonic frequency. They understood, or maybe I don't know. Whatever it was, there was an understanding that was way deeper than we have right now. And I'm trying to figure out, how did apes create this? How did one DNA strand away from an ape create this level of advanced civilization? As far as creating megalith, like damn near computer chips. How did this happen?
With a central beam at the top. And this all takes us to Caesar technology. Caesar technology that was only introduced to humanity in 2009, as opposed to laser beams. Caesar beams, infinitely more powerful. But it seems that human sound was used to amplify and start these circuit boards Even the Parthenon in Greece, that was an ancient circuit board. It's really badly destroyed. And they had these amphitheaters. They squeeze a bunch of people in there, fill them with fear, make them clap their hands and whatever they do, and all these religious sites as well. All that energy gets channeled down these vibrating pillars and into the circuit board, and it starts the circuit board through sound. And we find these circuit board amphitheater connections all over the world. Amphitheaters, circuit boards, whatever they were doing with that energy remains a mystery. There's another amphitheater connected to a circuit board on top of the mountain there. You can see it badly destroyed. Here's another one in North Africa, in Algeria. Here the circuit board is, the amphitheater is right in the heart of the ancient circuit board. And this doesn't stop there. The secret sound
channeling of human energy by use of a theater. Having people in a theater screaming and yelling. What do you think that? So what think about these baseball games where you have a bunch of people screaming and whatever. I remember I went to the Chris Brown concert, and I swear to goodness, there was a time in that concert where I felt like I was in a trance. And you could hear the acoustics like bouncing off of everything. And if you're in the middle of it, like where I was, you couldn't even hear this. You didn't even know what the song was until halfway through, because the acoustic, everything was just bouncing around. And this is the type of energy that they're dealing with, right? So there's a way they harness that energy. That is not a ape doing that. We are not apes, bro. Why would we even have technology this advanced?
Sound activation continues in medieval times and continues in modern times. Temples have just become churches. And you will see the importance of the structures of these churches with the conical towers, the cone-shaped tools that focus the sound into Caesar beams. This stuff is just so brilliant. Our sound is being harvested as energy. It's that simple. Anytime you build a circle, pyramids, obelisks, or domes and cathedral towers, these are all harvesting devices for amplifying and harvesting sound and focusing sound. And this is why all cathedrals, all major churches, all major castles around the world are always built on very powerful energy lines, ley lines, very energetic places around the world. Every time there's a Catholic church cathedral, it's always on a very strategic point. And this is why the mystery of the medieval cathedrals is such an important thing to crack. Architects today just marvel at how these guys built it. With the tools they had in the year 1000 or whenever it was 10 something, when they built these in the 10th, 11th, 12th centuries, we couldn't build it today with those kind of tools. We'd struggle to build it today with modern tools. This is just spectacular. Have a look at the inside. It's so obvious what's going on here. Giant acoustic chamber with a dome on top of it, with vibrating pillars from the resonance of the people clapping their hands or their fear or shouting or singing, whatever they were doing, going up these pillars into the dome. And what's on top of the dome outside of the cathedral are these spires that send the frequencies up into the sky. I mean, this is just so obvious what's going on here, but it gets even better. Now you start looking at the extra features in these cathedrals, and you realize that they're also using the shape of light that amplifies the acoustic effect inside the chamber. Can you see the shape of these windows? Circular, very important, not square, circular or oval, etc. And we start seeing very obvious magnetron-shaped windows. And once you know that light and sound are inextricably connected, if you send light through a magnetron shape, it will create a magnetron effect. The shape of the window will take the frequency of the light and amplify it because it's in the shape of a magnetron. It's spectacular. So the light from outside goes through the magnetron structures into the church, into the cathedral. It amplifies it because the cathedral is just an ambient chamber. And now you got this magnetron amplification of the light that shoots out the spires and through the top of the cathedral. It's like laser transfer. You can take the information of an egg from a salamander or a lizard, you put a laser beam through a fertilized lizard egg, and you point the laser at the infertile frog egg, and the frog will become a lizard. The light takes the information and deposits it from one to the other. That's what happens. The light comes in through the window, takes the information of the light and amplifies it inside the chamber. Magnetron-shaped windows in cathedrals is suddenly a dead giveaway that this is very, very advanced technology that we're only waking up to now. Once you realize what's going on.
And then they put like these fake color things in there where it used to be just straight pure sunlight shining through. They didn't have this like glass pane colored effect. There was a straight sunlight shining through.
Going on, we go, oh my God, we are so bloody dumb. We are just like literally lambs to the slaughter. We're just being lied to, abused, eaten, slaughtered, tortured. This is a woman by the name of Annie in Sweden and took this picture of a church. Look at that beautiful torus. Look at the energy coming out of that, creating a torus effect. As every now and then, it just shows itself to us very obviously. And we suddenly realize that city grids and cities are just the modern day circuit boards generating huge amounts of sound. Human beings never stop making a noise. Cities are constantly noisy, keep pushing up sound into the sky through the high skyscrapers. We are sources of energy because we never stop freaking making a noise. And suddenly, when Morpheus holds up the battery in the Matrix and he says, we are the source of energy, you go, I get it, dude. I finally understand what you mean. When the guys made the Matrix, they knew exactly what they were talking about. Wherever they got their information from is very, very interesting. And that brings me back to places like Bologna, these hundreds of towers that have now been destroyed, gone. This is a very, very early picture of Bologna with many of the towers that have already been gone. But look at the early image, the drawing from 1700s of Bologna. There's a dome over the city. There's a wall and a dome over the city. What's going on here? When Morpheus holds up the battery.
I mean, what's going on? What is going on? We're talking about like we're monkeys and also the crazy stuff, but what's really happening? Bologna, go ahead and look that up. Bologna, Italy, ancient like images, okay? And so in my final thing, I want to like go into a live I did with Brother Johnson. I hope that you guys go ahead and watch that full live, but I'm gonna show like the portion where he discussed how churches were actually hospitals and energy places that people would go to be healed.
Okay, right. So frequency and vibration. You have to understand that the church is not a church. That was a hospital. That's number one. Those were not churches. Those were not religious buildings. Those were hospitals that people went to get real healing done. The stained glass windows should not be there. There should not be any glass in those windows. It should be knocked out because the windows themselves are created in sacred geometry, which gives the light that passes through it a different kind of rotation to it, putting it into a more hyper-focused focal point of energy. And that's why you have an altar in the church. Like the people that were the most sick would go to the altar. The organs were called organs because it literally was something that was created to adjust your organs. It was something that would cleanse you from the inside out. Bells, right? Okay, first off, parasites. I mean, demons. The things in the Bible called demons. These are parasites. It's parasites that you get from food and things like that. That's why they tell you to ring the bell to get rid of the fucking demons and stuff like that. All that hocus pocus shit they made up afterwards. The truth of it is the bells would scramble the energy and kill the parasites. If you look nowadays, they'll have like frequency devices to nuke parasites and shit like that. That's the same concept you have with the bells, the altar, and the organs that we're playing. That's why it would play in the synchronicities that it was creating, because what that is that's a form of frequency healing. If you go inside of the Catholic churches right now, the booths that they changed into confession booths, those are chambers that are made to resonate the energy that goes into them. It's not that it's somewhere that you're not hearing people and shit like that. If you notice, each one of those chambers has a very specific sacred geometry shape on the doors and on the windows of that chamber. Now, because they put up the metal in between the shit and took all the bells out of it, and they sing things in a different octave than what they used to, you don't get those same effects anymore. You still get altered in those buildings, but it's not in the same manner. It's the reversal of it. So that's why people that go into church get addicted to the church, but they always see demons and devils and all these horrific things, because what's happening is they're getting reprogrammed on a subatomic level. It's going in there where all the energy is being focused into the church, and then hearing about negative things at the same time. So you're restructuring DNA to be drawn towards these negative things, because they're getting a good feeling while hearing about bad things. So it's training them subconsciously to search for bad things. That's why all the people in the church are possessed. If you say something that a person in the church doesn't like, what's the first thing they tell you? Oh, you're possessed by a demon. The world is ran by the devil and everybody's living in hell and all this crazy nonsense. But that's because that's what they're addicted to. That's what they're possessed by. That's a form of possession. Anything that you give your mind over to is a form of possession. And so they conform to demons and devils more than they conform to anything else. Because the Bible, the way that it was restructured, when they changed it into a religious book, they make it so that you learn of duality. They make it so that every time that you think of something good, you're also thinking of something bad on the other end. You can't think of Jesus without thinking of the devil. You can't think of angels without thinking of demons. You can't think of God without or heaven without thinking of hell. You get what I'm saying? So these are all things that are being programmed subconsciously and on a genetic level that's being buried deep into their coding to make it so that anytime that they have a positive thought, it's subconsciously followed by, oh, there must be a demon coming. There must be a monster coming. There must be this. Like, it's damaging them on an internal level, and they don't even recognize it. As a matter of fact, here, I'm going to show you something since we're on that subject.
And that's interesting to say that those churches were not actual churches. They were actually hospitals that people use sound and resonance as well as light and everything like this to heal people. The altar was actually meant to what? Alter your DNA or alter your situation. The bells of the
altar was where you would go if you had a heavy ailment. That's what, okay, right. For your people in the chat and stuff like that, if any of them have been to the church, right? Or if you've been to the church yourself, right? You ever see where they call their new members up to the altar? And when they go up to the altar, some of the people pass out. Some of them seem to shake and convulse when the preacher touches them and shit like that. You ever seen those type of things?
Yes.
Okay, now you understand why. Imagine your body having a massive amount of energy pumped into it, to where it's literally to the point to where everything is being fucking just zapped, right? And then all of a sudden a physical contact comes on top of that. It's a complete override of your system. I experienced it once when I was a little kid, because I went up there. Because I had a friend that was a pastor that would take me to his church and stuff. And I went up there to like, I don't remember what it's called when you get welcomed into the church, but I went up there and the preacher touched me on my fucking head and my sound went blank, my vision went blank, my whole fucking shit went blank. And I was like, oh, what the hell was that? I was like, what was this? I always thought that everybody was fucking playing around when they went up there and did that shit, but I experienced that shit myself, so I know exactly what it. But now as an adult, after studying the things that I study, I know exactly what it was. Your system was already being reset from being in the place of the altar, and as it was being reset, somebody coming up and touching you is a complete override of your senses. Like, it's all, your whole system's already going through a fucking biological change on a subatomic level when you're standing on that altar. That's why it's called an altar. To have somebody touch you during that is a fuck to your system, because it's way too much. Like, it's already enough with all the energy, and then a physical touch on top of it, it basically shorts you out.
You know what? And especially if they all are praying with you, praying and stuff like that, combining that, and then they have the music.
It's not the prayer itself. They're taught that it's the prayer that makes them feel like that. It's not the prayer itself. It's the sound resonance in the building and the multitude of voices that come together. That's what it is it's resonating the sound around the building, keeping it in a circulation, because that's what those buildings are made for. They're made for sound resonance, because that's how you heal. So when you have a whole bunch of people chanting, when you have the choir on the stage singing, when you have the instruments playing and the bells ringing and all that shit, it's the overwhelming amount of sound resonance that's taking place. And so when you touch somebody like that, it's just like a complete override to your system. Like you can't even escape that shit. That's why I walk past the church when they're doing all these little their little ceremonies and their seances and all that bullshit, and you'll see when they're doing their singing and stuff like that. If you go to you walk past the right church, you'll be able to see the whole doors vibrate. You ever seen those videos where the doors are vibrating on the fucking church and shit like that?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, you're gonna have to look into that. But basically, it's the amount of energy that's in the building. It's like a subwoofer going off.
Wow. I gotta look that up. Churches with church doors vibrating when a service is going on.
Mm-hmm. They'll be in there singing and playing their instruments and playing their organs and stuff, and the fucking whole building will be vibrating because it's a sound resonance building. Hold on, I'm trying to get to this point real quick. Where is it?
And then I heard that they purposely broke all the bells and had them all buried at some point. I don't know what that's about, but I heard that.
Well, yeah, because if the bells were going off, you wouldn't have any parasites in your body, and your body would be getting restructured every day on a regular basis.
Right. So one last thing I wanted to show you guys is the What Is Love, and I wanted to like share this with you. It did premiere today on the channel, but I wanted to show you guys this as well, where he breaks down love and the meaning and how it really is something that we really are missing the meaning to. So let's go. But that's all because of like the system has kind of
that's the part that I don't get is people live inside that box, but they're uncomfortable inside that box, but they won't be themselves. Everybody's worried about people. Oh, they'll judge me. They'll stay away from me. They'll this and that. How many people are really around you now? Didn't they judge you and move away from you anyway, even when you tried to conform to their shit?
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody's afraid to be themselves. I can't say everybody. The majority of people are afraid to be themselves. They all want to fit into that perfect image that society's got painted, and none of them fit it because it's an impossible image.
So when you talk about these things that became religion, and then you break it down from a spiritual aspect, one thing I understand about spirit is it does not only focus on the hocus pocus of it all, but it also involves health, the body, being sound, what they call it holistically, mind, body, soul, everything. That's what I would say that spirituality is, because if you actually go into Asian spirituality, African spirituality, also Native American, like the Indians and different people like that, their spirituality also encompass healing practices.
Okay, let me throw you a loop on this one. Okay, right. So they tell you have to eat X, Y, and Z in order to cleanse your body, and then you have to stay on this. Everybody right now is on the vegan kick. Okay, so explain the Buddhist monks.
What do they eat? Nothing.
All kinds of fucking animals. Everything that fucking Chinese people eat. They don't stop eating what everybody else is eating, but somehow you're going to try to convince me that I have to eat a specific thing to be a specific way. It's intent. It's ideology. It's the things that you think. Once you realize, see, this is the thing, right? Duality is a training tool. The Hermetic principles, training tool. Learning to eat correct, training tool. Learning what to drink, training tool. Learning how to breathe, training tool. Learning how to think. Most people are worried about spells, right? Casting spells with the words that they say. Oh, grand rising. Oh, hi instead of hello, and da, 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 da. Okay, well, guess what? You're still performing the same fuck shit. If you're the creator in the flesh and everything revolves around you, why do you have to change things in order for you to be better? What do you need crystals for? Your energy. All you do is cycle and recycle energy all the time. What do you need a crystal for? You don't know how to control that? See, it's all these ideas that everybody's teaching everybody. Why do you think it's unlocking the kingdom?
Right.
All of these things that you're talking about are physical representations to prepare your mind mentally to be in control. Each one of them leads you to a different step. Each one of them leads you to a different way to understand things. But once you truly understand things, you don't need to do any of those things.
You know what's the crazy part of it? I got initiated as a priest in Nephi, right? And you know what happened once I got my initiation? You know what they told me? The secret of it all is that you already knew it, you just didn't listen. Everything that you've ever been through in your life, you were told, you just didn't listen. And so even initiation is a certain level of a training. Like, okay, you go through this whole thing and it makes you kind of hyper focus on certain like thing and change your mind, almost like when you go into basic training, right? And at the end of the basic training, you find out that everything, because you look at, because I was in the military, right? You look at this TI as he is like this evil, like mean person everybody should be afraid of. But then toward the end, he reveals himself to be just a regular person that actually is a cool guy. Same thing happens with these initiations, all these different like schools of thought, is that even when you talk about crystals, up until a certain point, you need to use the crystals until you learn how to channel that energy yourself.
Well,
but crystals can't help though, I ain't gonna lie.
This is the thing, right? All of the things that you're taught to use to get you to the point to where you accept who you truly are things that are stepping stones to get you there. But once you realize that the only thing that makes those things work in the first place is your intent going into it, and the idea going into it from you itself is the very thing that then becomes the trap that stops you from using it properly. Because if you're God in the flesh, why the fuck are you conforming to what other men are telling you is what it is? And how do you have control if you're listening to what everybody's telling you is necessary to do this and that? That's you making it so that you have to do this and that in order to be who you are. That's not you being you. Just think about that for a second. If I tell you, okay, if you really want to be spiritual and you want to unlock your powers and you want to this and you want to that, you have to hold this cap in your hand every single day. Right? How long are you going to hold that cap in your hand every single day to get to being who you are before you realize who you are, so that means that you don't need that cap anymore? If you're the thing that is the main source of the energy that's controlling this, that all the energies flow through, why do you need something else to control your own energy if that's also a part of you? Gimmicks. Tools, physical tools to help you realize mentally.
Well, isn't that what they kind of do in martial arts? They start you off to like to give you tools initially, and then you eventually used to learn how to work without those tools. I mean, with anything, even when you're like skating, right? If you want to learn how to skate, they start off with training skates, and then they eventually take the trainers off, and next thing you're skating. And then if you want to move the next level, you'd be rollerblading and ice skating. And
so how long are you going to tell yourself that you need crystals to control energy before you realize that you're the energy that's being controlled by the crystal? You're a part of the same energy that makes this wall, that makes that pillow, that makes this phone, that makes this tablet, that makes this thing, and makes this thing and this thing, and all that same energy is floating around you because that's all a part of you. Why do you need something to conduct it? Why do you think that you need a specific thing to eat in order for you to receive it? Why do you think that you have to train your body a specific way in order for you to be a part of yourself? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At a certain point, you reach a level to where you just understand that that's just you. in all kinds of different forms. You're a part of all of this. So how is it that you don't control the energy that you take in? It's all yours in the first place. But see, you've got all these gurus out here. You got all these gurus out here that take you the furthest away from reality that you can possibly get. Because you're, what do they tell you about in the Hermetic principles? The true Hermetic learns to read between the lines. What's between the lines? Nothing. There's nothing there. Why? Because everything's between the lines. So why do you have to conform to what people tell you is necessary to do the things that you do naturally? Let me show you something. All right, right? So one of the things that they tell you is that you have to learn how to love everything. Right? You have to learn to find love. The problem with that statement is the fact that everything is love. There's nothing but love. Love comes in a plethora of forms that people ignore. This is the maxims of human existence. Okay? You go through this wheel every single day. Every single part of this wheel you go through on a day-to-day basis. There's nothing that you do that escapes this every single day. Okay? This is applicable to your life. This is applicable to your relationships. This is applicable to any object that you have around your house. It doesn't matter what it is. This chart, this little simple chart right here is everything. There's nothing outside of this. Look, right? We'll use a relationship to start with, okay? When you first meet somebody that you like, you feel joy. Right? The moment that you feel that joy and you actually go and talk to them, you feel like you won a little bit, right? When they agree that you're yours, you automatically feel successful. Right? And then after you feel successful, right, you start to feel a little more free in life because now you found that piece that was missing, right? Now, that makes your day become a little bit lighter, right? Which means that, your body feels lighter. You get what I'm saying? When you're happy about stuff, right? So then that makes your day seem a little bit brighter. Everything's all nice and fucking fancy and that because you're in love. Oh, you're in love, right? So you start to feel a little bit more alive about everything, right? And because you feel alive about everything, everything starts to seem like it's brand new again because you found that new love, right? So now you start to feel real secure, right? But when you start to feel that level of security, you automatically start to get a little bit pissed off. Why you get pissed off? Because, well, the problem is when you start to feel that, you also start to have that loss build up in your back of your head. Oh, what if I do something did I do something that's going to upset them? Like, what am I okay? Like you start checking yourself, right? And then from that, you start to feel like you fail a little bit. Why? Because anything that you love, you're always going to try to improve on in some way, which makes it so that you have to fail in order to be able to be in love with something. You can't love something and not fail it continuously because you're always trying to improve yourself or the things that are around you, right? So love then becomes a trap, right? Because now you're burdened by that same thing that you love so much, which becomes a heavy weight on your shoulders, right? And that heavy weight that's on your shoulders makes you feel a little dead inside because you feel like there's pieces of you that are missing, right? So then you start to feel like time's moving a little bit slower. And then after time starts to move a little bit slower, you start to feel that vulnerability because, man, everything just, you can't ever seem to get it right, right? So this is the thing. The love that you feel for something gives you joy, but automatically it's going to piss you off because you're going to be worried about it. And it's going to make you feel like you won when you get to it, but it's also going to make you feel like you're losing because you're going to lose part of yourself first off, and then you're actually going to have to worry about losing that thing. So that success that you feel off of being able to go out with them also becomes an automatic failure that you're always going to experience. And so that that freedom that you felt automatically becomes the trap. I know you've been in relationships where you feel like you're trapped by the relationship. You're like, oh, I love them, but I just can't leave them, and I can't be around them, and I can't, right? So that lightness that you feel becomes a little bit heavy. And that brightness that you feel begins to make your day a little bit darker. So that alive feeling that you had then starts to turn into something that feels like it's killing you, right? So that security that you had then becomes something that makes you feel vulnerable. But you're told that love is joy, win, success, freedom, light, bright, alive, new, and secure. They try to convince you that when the person that you love starts to piss you off, that it's because they don't love you. The person that you love that you feel like you're losing them because they don't love you. The person that you love that's making you feel like a failure is because they hate you, right? Because like they teach you that half of this is hatred and half of this is bad, but you can't experience the rest of these without these to go along with it. The thing is that all of these things are affected by the way that you think. You're the one that starts to get angry about the things that they do, comparing it to things that they don't do. You're the one that starts to feel lost, like you're losing yourself because of how much you love them. You're the one that starts to feel the failure. You're the one that starts to feel the trap. You're the one that starts to feel heavy and dark and dead and old and vulnerable. You're the one that starts going through all these emotions, and you'll leave them for this, right? Because you'll feel like they don't fucking match up to what you thought that they were going to be. But let me ask you something, right? You got a car, right? You got a car, you might have a house, you got something that you love, right? Now, in your mind, if you wanted to right now, when you had that car, you could have a dream right now of taking that car and driving it over a fucking mountain, flying off into the sky, into outer space, and driving it around the moon and then coming back, right? Now, tomorrow, after you've had that dream, you're going to go out to that car, and you're still going to love that car, and you're still going to drive that car to where you need to go, and you're still going to enjoy having that car. You're not going to get rid of that car for the things that you've made up in your mind as to what that car should be able to do, but everybody's leaving their partners because of those same things that they experience with their partners, because your partner's never going to be better than the one that you made up in your head, right? But you compare your partner to all those things, and those things that are in your head are what make you mad at your partner. Oh, the same things. That's why people date people, and the same things that they used to love about that person become the things that annoy them about them. And they'll end up breaking up their relationship and leaving them because they think that they must hate them, right? I must hate you if you piss me off so much. I must hate you if I feel lost when I'm around you. I must hate you if I feel like a failure because I always want to do better for you. I must hate you if motherfucking you're making me feel trapped. But there's nothing about love that doesn't include these things. As a matter of fact, the more that somebody gets under your skin, the more you love them. The more you worry about losing them is because you love them so much. The more you're worried about failing them is because you love them so much. The trappedness is because you love them so much. The heaviness and the darkness and the deadness. But then instead we take these things out on our partners. Right?
Wow. So now I see why you said that yin yang doesn't exist, because it's really all a part of one thing.
One thing. There is no hate. There's really no hate.
It's fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's fear. And they say there's only two emotions, love and fear. That's what they said. There's only two emotions, love and fear.
No, because fear is a part of love.
Because everything that you said there, everything that's on that left-hand side is based on fear. It's your
everything on that left-hand side is another form of love. It only exists because you love that thing.
Yeah, because if you didn't love it, you wouldn't be afraid of losing it. You wouldn't be afraid or sad or wondering this, that, the other. And so instead of us understanding where that's coming from, that is really based out of love, then we
live in a world of love, but yet for some reason everybody's taught that all of this stuff is hatred. You go through this every single day, a million times a day, with a million different things a day, but there's only one that suffers because of it.
It's you.
And guess what? It's
And you know what? I get afraid of losing my kids. You know, I'm a mother, right? So I'll be afraid. My daughter might. I'm afraid to like let her do this and this and the other. But I don't like.
Would you get rid of your kids because of that?
No. I don't discard my children. So why do we discard our spouses because of that? Those same emotions. That's a wow.
People don't recognize heaven. Heaven's all around them and they don't recognize it. Everybody's out here searching for love. What part of your life don't you love?
And you know what? And so people get so caught up in the dogma of what they believe. Like I had a person that was in the audience that left because, well, he said about this and about Christianity. I'm out. It's like, well, you're missing a good point where he's breaking things down. A very good point that he's making. And I'm sad this guy missed that. He didn't get to see what you just broke down because really, I mean, now it makes sense, everything.
He'll be back. He doesn't have a choice to. He's just Christian, so he has to get away because his mind's all frazzled. I showed you why his mind's frazzled. I told you that Christians are stuck in a little bubble because of the things that they're engaging in on a regular basis. They can't help it. But they'll keep coming back. I know they keep coming back. I've had over 2 million followers on fucking TikTok, and trust me, a lot of them were religious people that couldn't stop coming back.
You know what? The biggest thing is okay. When you said okay, when people get into these places, they get sick because they're getting a dual message, and that these places are probably some of the sickest people get sickest the most, right? But if you actually look at other these belief systems, I would believe when I hear about the Christian church, I do see a lot of sick and shut in all the time. And all you said was that
rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
So,
that's what I'm saying. I rebuke you.
Even though that those parents might be that live to be 95 might not have they might not have experienced the same thing. There is some truth to what's being said when it comes down to the message that's being taught. Singing about happy and love, but then you're talking about, and then he died on the cross, and that's a contradiction. About 1 minute we're talking about redemption and love and this, that, the other, and the next minute we're talking about death and destruction.
Imagine how traumatized you would be if you saw what you considered to be your God crucified every single fucking weekend. Just wrap your mind around that for a moment. If every time that you go into the place of your worship, which is warring against the temple, warring the ship, the vessel, the ship, the body. Okay, you walk inside of a building, even though if you read the Bible, it tells you God doesn't dwell in a house built by hands. But you're going to go inside of the same place that your Jesus tore down and then look at him hung, strung up. If your best friend died, would you want to walk and look at your best friend every single weekend in the way that they died?
No. Or to keep talking about it every weekend.
Every weekend?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday, bare minimum.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you what, the sermon always, and then they strung up on the thing and in the blood and
drink his blood and eat his flesh. Here you go. This is your savior. Drink his blood and eat his flesh. You're not a cannibal, though. You're not performing rituals and witchcraft, seances, taking on spirits, and walking around with anointed oils, that's witchcraft.
But really, what is witchcraft?
Soup.
What really is witchcraft? Because I mean, they would say some of the practices that I do in my belief, would be considered witchcraft. However, actually, it's actually meant to heal people, right? These are things.
Who do you know that doesn't put spices in their food?
Nobody.
Okay, doesn't witchcraft require you to cook something, change the temperature and the structure of something, and add in different types of elements in order to alter it?
Yeah.
So who doesn't do witchcraft? Everybody does. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, if you're taking if you've got some vegetables and thing, and you're throwing in some sage, a little bit of thyme, and all those things are the same thing we use in our rituals. We might make a tea out of it and drink it, but
They have anointing oils in the church that's olive oil with rosemary and like a couple different herbs in it. It's witchcraft. But you're evil for it. Now go home and eat your soup.
So one thing I wanted to get into I want to get back into sound resonance, because there's this whole thing, this Opus sound bed. Have you ever heard of this? The Opus sound bed?
Yeah.
It's a bed that you sit down on and it's supposed to like resonate, like, sir. Because I was gonna get this whole thing, but I'm afraid to get it because it's like $2,000. But it's supposed to resonate.
That's something you can get for like $1,200.
Yes,
I got one.
It's a sound bed that you can sit on, and it's supposed to like heal your body. And I've heard, like, even in China, there was like a person that like actually was had a tumor, and they were using this sound, and this sound frequency was actually, it was in, I think, Korea or China. I'm not sure if you saw the video where they kept saying it is done, it is done, it is done in their language, and there was a sound like whatever this machine.
They were chanting at the right frequencies.
Yeah, and they kept saying it is done. And so even in China, they have holistic clinics. They do a whole blood panel, and they give you certain herbs, and you'd be surprised, like, even when they, like, you have to go through, it's like going to the hospital,
Yeah.
And so here in America, we have gotten away from the holistic aspect of life and utilizing sound frequencies. Can we get into that, like, for healing, how to heal ourselves with these frequencies, and how to use what would one do? Parasites. Because let me tell you something. Lately, I don't know, my timeline has been filled with stuff about parasites, and I know it must be me sending out a frequency. Maybe, hold on. I do want to show this about sound. Do you know that they actually have devices right now at the universities that are using sound to kill tumors? So let me just show you this. I was trying to find the actual video where they were doing it at, but yeah, so here we go. Tumors partially destroyed with sound don't come back. Non-invasive sound technology developed at the University of Michigan in 2022 breaks down live tumors in rats. You probably can't read that, but yeah. So yeah, I'm not just I'm not just talking up the side of my face. Let's go. Yeah, I have a lot of parasites, and so therefore I'm seeing a lot of stuff about parasites. But even
first we gotta explain parasites. Parasites is your body's defense to all the toxic shit that you're consuming. It's not that you consume things that have parasites in them. It's the opposite. Parasites are what your body creates. That's why they're your parasites. Your body creates that to consume the things that it can't get rid of. But you can control your body a lot more than you think that you can. I know this because I've tested some things that most people would think was fucking nuts. And it works.
So people say like that if you eat sushi, right? That those specific fish have certain level of parasites within them. And when you ingest those things, that they have like there's different
you have acid in your stomach that absorbs everything. What's going to survive in that?
You know what? Good point. So is all that stuff like scare tactic stuff that people are using to sell ivermectin and all these different like things?
Well, no, your body definitely your body does have parasites, but the parasites are made by your body. That's why it can survive in your body.
So
Your
how
body
does your body create? Okay, because they said that even cancer is parasites. What happens is that a certain organ, and then the parasites begin to grow in that place, and then when you have a tumor, it is an encasement around the parasite that your body creates to stop the parasites from going further. And then when you get chemotherapy or different things like this, the reason why cancer spreads is because you unleash those parasites that were being encapsulated, and now they spread throughout the body. Same thing with mammograms. Like they say that when you get a mammogram, you have this heavy thing pushing your boob down, and if you do have any kind of cancer within that tumor, it could mess with that tumor and then unleash the parasites, and the next thing you know, you got cancer and this, that, the other, all throughout your system. So how
cancer is your body trapping the poison. Cancer is your body's natural defense to an overload of toxins. The cancer itself is your body trapping those toxins so that they're not, because you have too much of it. That's why people can fast and cleanse and get rid of it, because you're no longer putting it into your system. You got to realize that what they do when they do your mammogram is they rupture the cancer cell. The cancer cells are dead cells that are fucked up because you have toxins in your body, and they're being collected in a specific place so that they don't spread everywhere. And then you go and get that mammogram, and it smashes it and it ruptures it, and now it spreads everywhere. Now it's in your bloodstream. Now it's everywhere that it was being held at. Cancer is not a bad thing. Cancer is your body's defense to the fucked up stuff that you put into it. Now, the thing is that you can get rid of all that shit with sun gazing. Literally. You can burn fat with sun gazing. You can restore the elasticity to your skin through sun gazing. You can you can restore brain function through sun gazing. You can burn your sun gazing activates the autophagy that people fast to get. That's the main benefit of the fasting, is your body's ability to activate the autophagy from not using that energy everywhere else. Well, if you're sun gazing, you're putting energy directly into your endocrine system. Look, these are all the benefits of sun gazing. Dopamine is what calms you down. Serotonin and endorphins and melatonin are what makes your brain function properly, right? ATP is the thing that restores your youthfulness to your skin. Okay, the hormesis. What the fuck was the hormesis? I forget what the hormesis does, right? But your autophagy, see right there, autophagy, right? That's the thing that eats all of the cancerous and all of the bad cells and fucking takes all the toxins out of your body, is the autophagy. That's what people fast to get. That's what they fast to activate, right? The NAD, the NAD plus, it'll cost you fucking $60-$70 to get a bottle of NAD plus. That's
I have it. I have that. I have the NAD. I paid $60.
You could have got it for free. You could have got it for free and felt good and been burning fat and been destroying everything toxic in your body and motherfucking restoring your levels to the proper circadian rhythm. And you could have been motherfucking feeling younger, and you would have felt a lot calmer, and your mind would have started functioning better. Why? Because you're feeding your fucking endocrine system directly with direct energy. That's all that it is. It's your endocrine system that's being activated. That's your RAM, your goat. See your RAM right there?
Yeah, that's crazy. So the body, even so, all these things they must have did like some Egyptians or whoever these people were must have like just dissected human bodies and noticed that, hey, oh, this looks like a goat, this looks like this, and in those
Well, if I draw it out for you, if I had my pen, I don't know what I did with my eye pens. I don't know where they went, but but I can literally show you the magnetism of the body that created all of these things. I know how the whole entire body was constructed, inside and out, all the organs, all of the everything, all by magnetism. So
was it sound that did this? Because you know, even when they talk about the Indian pyramids, not the Indian structures, they say that when you actually look at them, that looks like almost like the same way that those water droplets look that you showed. That when you play water, when you have water at a certain frequency, it makes those kind of like looking. Have you seen the Indian buildings? How they look a certain way? It's like how did they make this? Right? You know?
Yeah.
And
it's all sacred geometry.
But do you think that was made by water, sound, and some kind of like sound vibration?
Well, this is the thing: is when you're able to manipulate energy, it doesn't matter what the thing is that you're manipulating. If you're operating within the confines of nature, you can conform anything to any shape that you want it to. You just have to know the frequency that's going to make it go from a solid to a liquid so that it takes that next form. Think about it. I can show you videos of people that will take a cone and tap, like you could take a drum, right? You can try this, right? If you get a drum and you put a rock underneath of the drum and you start tapping the drum from the top, and the drum has no bass to it, the energy from the drum is going to pump down into the base surface, and whatever's sitting on top of that base surface is going to levitate into the drum. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as the drum has a large enough size in comparison to the size of the thing that you put under it. It's just energy manipulation. Now, as far as the rocks go, I forget what plant it is, but there's a plant. This is how most of the shit out in this is how they were carving into rocks. It's not that they were carving into it. There's a plant that you can go and find out in Mexico. There's birds that reshape rocks out in Mexico. I forget what kind of bird it is, right? But what they do is they go and grab this plant, right? And they take the plant and they rub it on the stone, and then the stone turns to a rubbery. It becomes moldable, right? And so when people observed that taking place, they took that same plant and in mass and started doing that to the blocks, which made it so that they could stamp and imprint the blocks however they wanted to imprint it. So this is how you have those images that are pushed into the blocks. Now, if you take that a step further, and you include instruments that emit specific vibrations, the same way that you can speak into water and have it create a formation is the same way that you could do that with a rock. If you know the right frequency, it'll separate the structure, because the energy is only held together by a specific frequency. And so if you're able to hit that same frequency, it'll almost cancel it out. Not that it'll disappear, but it'll break the structuring of it all together. And so if you're able to hit that frequency, that's when, like, okay, perfect example, right? If you put a bunch of sand on a soundboard and you play notes onto that soundboard, the sand starts to take physical forms.
Right.
So if you do that with sands at a high enough temperature, what do you form? Glass in those structures. Sand overheated turns into glass. So if you apply that principle, imagine having a giant sound plate and you're playing with the sand as you're heating it up. and it's taking these sacred geometry shapes as it's being heated up. When you stop, when it's moving in that formation, that's also generating its own energy at that time. It's structuring itself to that energy. So if you're heating it up while you're doing that, and then you cut the heat, it's glass in that last position that it was at. Now you have something that's created completely in a perfect symmetrical sacred geometrical shape that went from being sand to a glass. All that requires it is not the heating, it's the amount of energy that's going into it. So if you have the ability to do that with large rocks and things, now you have a building.
Right. Wow.
It's just basic laws of nature.
And you know what's so funny? Here, I'm gonna ask this question. Okay, so microwaves and air fryers, right? I know I'm jumping around, right? So we cook our food in microwaves. So the sound, so microwaves are cooking your food with sound, heating it up.
But it's not a good cook, because it's in immense amounts. It's not a controlled, there's no control to it. You're basically burning the fucking shit from the inside out without physically burning it. Although if you leave it in there long enough, it'll burn the fuck out of everything. But you're basically cooking everything out of it, because it's a massive magnitude of energy being poured into it all at once. And it's unhealthy because it burns it from the inside out, from the source to the outside, right? This is why you can put something cold in there and like a portion of it will be fucking warm and hot and fucking turn into rubber while the rest of it is still cold. Like if you leave anything in a microwave long enough, everything becomes like a block of rubber. Either that or it completely dissolves.
Right. But I think that is a great science experiment on sound and how sound frequency can do that, how it can change the actual.
You can take apart a microwave and you can create a coil out of it that will disrupt. The thing about the microwave is that it's not natural energy. It doesn't have a natural flow to it. It's a disruptor. So what you're actually doing is,
so would the sound that comes from a microwave be similar to that sound that you see of hate in the water? Like, you know how you have the sound of love and good stuff?
Yes,
so
that's exact. Like, okay, right. If you took a microwave, if it was healthy, right? If you took a microwave right now and you open it up and you fix that button so that it thinks that the door is shut at all times, and you just turn that microwave on and you go and stick your arm in there, it's going to destroy your shit. You'll never recover from that ever. It's impossible because it rattles the fucking whole entire structure of the genetic coding altogether, and it's nuking it on a molecular level from the inside out. So it's killing it at the core and then working out even further. If you put something living in a microwave, that shit
looks. Put water into a microwave and you're drinking that water, what would you say would be going on with that water that you're ingesting after doing that?
You killed it, and you filled it full of fucking toxic energy. Think about it like this, right? When you drink water, you don't want to just drink water, okay? At the very least, you should swirl that shit, okay? If you don't do anything else, at least create a cyclone in your water, because what you're going to do is ionize it, and it's going to draw in air and oxygenate the water when you're doing this. This is why when you circle it and shit, you'll start to see the little bubbles come out of it and shit. You want to recreate a natural cycle. A natural cycle, water doesn't travel in anything but swirls. If you watch how a river gets created, none of them started straight. They all swirl. They all have depth that goes up and down in them. It's never just a flat surface. Anytime water hits a flat surface, it dies. You don't want to drink water. Water, look, you got to think about it like this. Water is a solvent. Water kills you. Perfect example, if you go sit in a bathtub long enough, what happens to you?
You get dehydrated?
No. Your skin starts to dissolve.
Oh yeah.
You sit in a bathtub long enough and you can cut your foot stepping on the ground. It'll split. You sit in a bathtub long enough and you bump your arm on something when you're getting out the bathtub and you'll get a cut in your shit. It'll split. That's because water is a solvent. Anything that you leave sitting in water over time, it just disappears. Almost nothing survives in water, but you're going to drink it.
Well, they say our body is made up of 90% water, so that's why we feel like. So the whole like thing of drinking water and
H3O2, structured water. You don't drink structured water. You only get living water through fruits. If you notice, fruit is always what? It's always sticky. It's always thick. It's never just water. There's never H2O that you get out of fruit. It's always structured water. That's living water. That's the only thing that you can drink. Drinking water, you have to do something to it. Put some salt in it so that it's conductive. Fucking put some tea in it so that it alters the structure of it. Talk into it. Tell good things. You've seen what happens when you talk to water. It changes the structure of water itself. You can build positive structures. This is what praying over food and shit's really about. People think they do it because they're this is the this is the funny thing, is like there's so many practices in these religious books that aren't religious that have to deal with sacred geometry and the restructuring of frequencies that people don't even realize. The Jewish people wear little fucking hats. They're always wearing one type of clothing. Why? Because one type of clothing creates a conductive force that's constantly flowing. When you cross threads, you're actually creating fucking shit like this. When you have like cotton and linen and cotton and silk and fucking polyester and all that other bullshit, you're creating breakage. You're creating breaks in the natural flow of energy. So all these people that are religious, they're doing all these practices and have no fucking clue why they actually do them. You pray over food because it's good intentions and good words, except for when people start saying things like, I pray that Timmy gets better and shit. You're now thinking of somebody being hurt while you're trying to make a good prayer. It's not healthy because it's you're subconsciously beating that shit into the fucking shit that you're about to eat. When you're all locked together, you're creating a force, you're creating a resonance. And so you share those thoughts that you have because it's supposed to bring a sense of joy, which is now being channeled into the center point. When they pray, they do what? They all hold their hands and they put their head forward. Your head is now the fucking focal point of the energy that's pouring. So it's all getting poured into a center point. When energy pours into a center point, it goes in two directions, up and down. So what happens is there's a spread of energy that goes over the food that you're eating, and there's a spread of energy that's pouring over the top of the building that's creating a resonance field around the whole group, right? Now, they'll have you wear, in the Muslim and the Jewish thing, they wear the hats, right? Why do they wear the hats? The hats are made out of the same thing as the rest of their body. The reason that they're wearing the hats is because your head is where the thoughts pour out from. Right? Originally, they used to come in from it because it was coming in towards the heart. Everything was going in towards the heart because that was the thing that formed the body itself. The mind itself came from the sperm. The sperm is nothing but the mind and the spinal column already put together. That's why this argument that a baby is able to be aborted is a fucking crock of shit, because it already had thoughts before it got into the body. That's why it was able to form a body in the first place. Because the magnetism that comes off of the sperm, if you ever study this, sperm actually has energy to it. That's because it's a form of energy in itself. And so the sperm is the head, that's the brain stem, and the nerve center, right? So that goes in and it bonds with the female's egg, which the egg has its own energy to it, but the sperm is now siphoning the energy from that to create the heart. The first thing that starts to be formed when the sperm is in there is the brain. It's taking the energy of the egg and putting it around the sperm itself and growing the brain. From that, you have your nervous center the nerve center that gets created, and then the heart gets created. Once the heart gets created, then all of the organs and the bones start to get created, because the heart becomes the thing that all the energy that the brain is pulling in goes feeding into. It goes into the formation of the heart. If you ever notice, that's why the top of the brain is the last thing to get solid. Remember, they always tell you when you have a baby, the top of the skull is the most sensitive part of the baby. That's because that's where the energy is coming in from.
Right.
When they're young, they're still pulling that energy in, because as they're growing at that young age, the heart is still being developed. That's why the PFO valve closes.
Right.
Because once the PFO valve is closed, that's when the brain starts to solidify, when the skull starts to solidify, because now all of the energy is now being regulated by the heart. The heart doesn't put energy out. The heart draws the energy in. If you ever notice, your rib cage goes inwards towards your heart. Your and even the bottom of your rib cage goes up like this. Oh, sorry, shit. It goes up like this. It's going up towards the heart. The whole forming of your rib cage is all energy that's resonating in towards the heart, that's solidifying as it's coming in. Below that, right? So you got to think about it like this, right? So now that you have the energy that's pouring into the heart, it's also pouring out through the bottom. This is why your organs all twisty and turvy and shit that's below it. Is because it's the energy that's pouring outward this way, right? So all of your organs that are below the heart are what? Raveled up. They're all raveled up and stacked till you get to the next energy center, which is the reproductive organs. If you pay attention to your hips, the way that your hips are formed, it's this round shape that goes down like this, and it has that focal point in the center of it where everything's being focalized to, which is your sacral point, which is the bottom of your spinal column, right? And so if you look at the shape of the hips, that's a toroidal field. Everything around your reproductive organs is the flow of energy going into that area that's separate from the heart. This is why you have a brain up here, a brain here, and a brain down here.
And also, but they say that the actual intestinal system is your first brain, and it's actually made of the same thing as the actual brain, right? Your intestines.
Well, your intestines are dead organs. That's the only part of your body that doesn't generate energy, because they sit above the energy center. Okay, right? Think about it like this, right? Here, let me show you. All right, this is the spear of the spear ritual. All right.
Well, you already had that open. That's crazy that you already had that open. Okay.
If you notice, right? So right here in this area, right, that's the same shape as your heart down here, and you see the toroidal field that's going into it right here. Sorry. Right? That's a toroidal field. So
it's almost like the ribs going backwards, like
see the eights.
Pelvis looks like a backward rib almost.
So look, you got to think about it like this, right? Okay, so up here, right now, this is the back of it. So it doesn't look right, but this is the back of it. Okay, so everything's wrapping around to the heart on this section, right? And then down here, everything's wrapping around to the heart down in this section, which is the reproductive system. So if energy is flowing, right, that means the shape of the hips follows this energy, right? It's going this way like this. It's like the number 8 this way, and then you have the number 8 this way on each side of these that's going in towards the heart on the front side, right? So you have energy that's pouring out in the bottom this way. It comes out like this. And then you have energy that's pouring out going this way. Now you understand why the organs are all wrapped up and stacked on top of each other. It's just energy.
Wow.
So the whole body's constructed this way, right? Look at this. Like this is the, hold on, where's it at? This one right here. Oh, this thing's dirty for me taking it to the construction site with me. I've been gutting out a house. All right, look, right.
There's so much to unpack, and I gotta bring you back too because this is so much good information. I gotta bring you back because we're gonna have to like it's not enough to cover it. We were only here for 3 hours, but hey, we can keep going. But I'm like, bro, it's too much to cover. It's so many things you know. And I'm so glad that you know all this stuff because it's very interesting to like get a person that actually studied this deep into that many things. But go ahead.
Oh, I'll have to get my pen for next time. I gotta find my pen so I can draw stuff out for you and show you in real time. But look, right, you see how that same system's happening here? See, you see the shape of the 8 on one side, the shape of the 8 on the other side, right? This is how your whole brain is functioning together. It's the same toroidal field.
Doesn't the throat have a similar thing in the throat, like the thyroid gland and that whole thing have that same kind of toroidal like 8 like?
Well, those are the product of the energy of the mind and the energy of the heart hitting a focal point. Because it's this energy that's around, like, okay, right? So you have the energy that's pouring up this way that goes around, right? Which is creating your thyroid because you have the energy from the top that's going down in this direction, right? And so when they run into each other at the focal point, it creates the, here, let me show you. I might have a picture I could show you with. Hold on a second. Let me go into the drawing stuff.
And then that throat chakra is where that is a thing that makes you be able to speak. So it's interesting how those things combine, meet at the center, and then vibration comes out through the mouth. I mean, we're talking about some interesting stuff, you guys. I hope that you guys are enjoying the show. Please like, share, and subscribe. You know, like, listen, I'm so happy that, Solomon came and to give us this information because, I mean, I've had a lot of different people.
You're really gonna have me starting to call people Solomon. I'm about to ride with that so bad, yo. You about to make me ride that one out, yo. That's funny. I keep forgetting that I put that on that book. Nobody references me to that. Like, I don't mind it. Like, don't get it twisted. I don't mind it and shit. All right, so look, right, check this out. See this right here?
Uh-huh.
Okay, right. Now this is your brain. All right, this is the same brain that you were looking at earlier. Now, hold on, I gotta see if this level's on here. Let me put this around it. That's how your apples are made. All of your fruit has this, because the apple is simply the toroidal field going around the seed. Right? And then at the top where the energy is pouring out is where your stems and your plant and your stems and your flowers.
A lot of bug faces. Look like a bug face. Bugs look like that same way with the antennas going up.
I'm telling you, everything is based off of these simple concepts and things. It's nothing in this world is complex. It's all sacred geometry and it's all energy. And I can prove it, undoubtedly prove it about anything, about any object or anything. But check this out, right? This is something that I discovered, right? And I still haven't seen it being used by anybody yet. Let me see. Do I have it? Let's see if I have it any other way. This right here, if I can figure out how to use this correctly, I should be able to create shit out of thin air. Now, all this is magnetism, right? The four different magnetisms, right? And then it's creating sound waves because this is, but if I go cut an apple open right now, I can show you this shape in an apple. I can show you this shape in a watermelon. I can show you the shape in a tomato. I can show you the shape in all the fruits. All the fruits have the same design to them, but nobody ever looks at it from this perspective. But let me see if I wonder if this pen will work. No, not this one, of course. All right, look. All right, here, let me see if I can do it like this. Right. From this, right, you have energy that's pouring in this way and energy coming in this way. Okay. Now you're starting to see the lateral ventricles and the basal ganglia, the thalamus, the pituitary gland, your motherfucking this would turn it into the spinal column right here, and going like this, because this is how your cerebellum looks, right? And this is your brain, which is also the apple, right? And
so you think that's also why they said that they ate the apple? Adam and Eve ate the apple?
well, actually, it just said the fruit, which somebody changed into the apple later on in time, but that's not what they were talking about. And
Okay.
nor, like, the whole story is all fucked up over time. But Eve coming from the rib is the ribonucleic DNA strand. It's part of your DNA. The atoms that structure your DNA in your ribonucleic DNA is what the structuring of the DNA is after it comes together. So that's why she comes from the rib of man, because it's man's genetic coding. It's not man physically, if that makes any sense.
I get it. Yeah.
I really wish I could find my pins. I know I've got one around here somewhere. I really want to show you since I'm on here.
Yeah, go ahead. If you need to go ahead and look for it, I can play something.
Matter of fact, this should have 2 of them in it. I think I'm gonna have to let it sit for a minute. Yeah, this is gonna have to sit for a minute. So let me throw this on a charger while we're talking, and we'll come back to it in a couple minutes. This charger, and it's nice having this here. Wait a minute, so it's already fully charged. Oh, it is. Okay, good. All right, check this out. All right, give me. Let me see. Let me get a brand new one for you. Need a screen size one. Go like that. Turn the background dark. Nice red background. Go back up to the first layer. Green pen. All right, right. So let me give you that first thing all over again. Hold on a second. That's too dark. My bad. Oh, didn't we do that? Hold on, because I got to flip the screen around. All right, I got this. I'm going to do the screen flip thing this time. Hold on. This will make it easier on me. So go to settings, camera, and then mirror, and then go to back camera. All right, right. Let me move this thing out of the way. I'm gonna go like this. All right. So I'm gonna give you the same pattern that I had a minute ago. This. Now, all right, right. So they say that in the beginning there was the 1, right, and then the 1 splits to the 2. So this would be your negative, your positive, and all that other that nonsense that they teach people about. Right. Now, this is the thing, right? So now we're talking about layers of energy. So you have 2 forces. You have one goes this way, and then you have the other one going this way. Right? Now, some people have seen this symbol before. I don't remember what it is, but there's like some pagan shit that deals with this symbol. I don't remember exactly what it is because I don't care about their names. Now, this is the thing, right? Is this, go up another layer. Right, when you're dealing with magnetism, you have energy that is going this way. And this is what starts to create different forms, because you have the 1 and the 2 and the third and the bottom point, right? There's always a bottom point. Now, this is the thing, is you also have energy that goes this way. That's why you have like your firmaments and shit like that. And no, I'm not saying the world's round, and I'm definitely not saying it's flat either. Okay, but this is the thing, is you have different polarities, right? You have your negative and your positives. Okay, so due to these negatives and positives, you have these forces that are traveling at all times. Now, as they're traveling, they're hitting focal points. This would be your focal point, right? This is that vortex that everybody's talking about, that everything has to go through, right? This is also why the brain has that soft spot in the beginning. Okay. Now, that spiral then pours out at the bottom. So the thing is when energy is traveling this way, the energy that's furthest away is going to be brighter. So you're going to have water that surrounds everything. Right now, if you remember, the water goes deeper and deeper. Right? Because remember, water is a solvent. Water is something that energy is going into that hasn't had enough energy to create something physical yet. The reason that you have physical things like land masses, which all are going to be found closer to the center, but not quite touching it. The reason behind that is because there's so much energy in this area that is going to create more water, because it's too much to take a physical form. But there's going to be land masses, and those land masses, because energy bounces, right? It's going to go like this, and then there's energy that's going to go like this. It's going to go in these different directions, right? Which is why you have your what? Your mountains and your valleys. Okay. This is exactly why the world's shaped the way that the world is. Okay. Because the energy that's collected at the center is what is creating the physical land masses. The energy that's still pouring out on these outskirts is why you have your water surrounding everything. That's why the world's mostly water, right? And the thing that's funny about this is that this same thing is also the reason, we'll go with purple. If we follow these same things, actually, hold on, let me give you the sun and the moon first, right? So you have the sun over here, right? Now the sun follows a specific pattern. It's an 8 pattern that goes this way, like this. All right, if you ever watch how the sun actually rotates, it's on an 8. It's spinning on a different axis. The moon, however, is known as the Most High, okay, because the moon is up here. Now the moon is on this trajectory. It's going this way. That's why it ends up crossing the sun at a certain point, okay? Now, if you've studied anything about biology, you also know that this is how cells are formed as well. Right? So the world is internal as much as it is external. Proof of that is the fact that this is your brain, which comes to this point. It's just following this trajectory of energy, right? It goes like this, right? And then the bottom of your brain, where your cerebellum's at, is the part where the energy is pouring out, which is why your cerebellum has, if you ever look at it, your cerebellum has all these little lines on it that follow that same magnetic charge. Okay, it goes out like this. Now, following the magnetism, you have what is known as your lateral ventricles, which are the ones that go up like this. They curve around like this, right? Still following that same charge. That's that ram that you see in that picture that I just showed you. Right? It goes out like this and then out like this. Right? So this is also the formation of your brain is the same thing as the world is. Now, at that focal point where the energy meets is where the beginning of your spinal column falls into play. That's that triangular shape that you see known as the pyramid, which is also the owl. You see this is where your eyes are, right? The basal ganglia is in here inside the lateral ventricles. Now, the basal ganglia is a round thing, but it looks like this. It's got these little pieces on it that pull together like this and like this. All right, because it's always following the magnetism. So below that, you'll have your brain stem, which is still following that same magnetism. Now, if we add the skin to it, right, this is the same spot where your actual eyes are. Right? Your nose comes down like this. Hold on, let me change the color of that. Right? Your nose comes down like this. You got your two nostrils, and then it comes to that point. Right? And then your mouth is down here. It's those energies that are running into each other. Everything follows this. The difference is when it comes to your head, right, the roundness here meets up with the roundness here, which gives you the shape of the ear. Right? Your ear follows the same exact pattern. Now, literally, everything in existence follows the same magnetic energy as everything else. Because when you go to the next layer, I can give you your heart next, which is shaped. Oops, sorry. Should be a bright color. Pink. Right? Your heart looks like this. Right? And inside your heart, it has those chambers that go like this. Your heart isn't exactly like a round shape. Okay, it's more in the shape of your ears, so to speak. Right? But it still follows that same exact pattern. But all you got to do is add the stems to it, and all of a sudden, your heart becomes the apple. Same way as your brain does and everything else. Literally, the world is you internally and externally. So understanding the flow of energy is the thing that teaches you how the world operates. Now, we can go up another layer. I know it's starting to look a little jumbled up, so let me just remove some of this so that it's a little more clear. It's starting to look a little crazy. Let me keep this one, and get rid of the face, and we'll move up to the next layer. And now you have, right? So your heart would be about here, right? And then you have the clavicle, right? That's following that same magnetism. Rib cage. Everything about your body is magnetism. There's no denying it whatsoever. It all comes together the same exact ways. It's all sacred geometry. So your rib cage is shaped like this, basically. And then below that, because remember, the energy is pouring out at the bottom. So what's happening? Down here at your hips, you also have the other magnetism of your body. And that's that butterfly shape. Right? Where you got your little sacral down here, goes up like this, and you got your little holes over here like this and like this, right? So that's because this has its own magnetic force to it. Right? So you have energy pushing up this way, and then you have energy pushing down this way, which is why your organs all start to shape in this way because they're stacking the energies on top of each other. This is literally how all of your organs get formed.
So listen, go ahead and please watch that. The whole video is on my channel. I'll post it into the if I can post it into the chat. Watch the whole video. I mean, this was a really great build by brother the Book of Johnson, and I really want you guys to check it out because he really is breaking down a lot of stuff. It's called The Secret to Ancient Wisdom, and I'm gonna post this into the chat. If you get a chance, please look for more of it. I mean, he breaks everything down. I mean, it's a 4-hour build that we did. But thank you guys for watching so far. Much love. Peace.
I am blessed to make money, money making money, money making money, money making money, money making money, manifest making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. I ain't stressed, making money, money making money, money making money, money making money. Gratitude is my attitude. I'm making money moves. Jewelry in the safe, piggy bank.